global instruments in the 20th century, the lock had already held for decades. The stability we measure today is not evidence that it was always there. It's the scar of the lock-in. We can't see the fluctuations anymore because we unconsciously enforce the constant. I've been sitting on this for a while, and the more I dig, the more the pieces click together. This isn't a meme. Hear me out. The behavior, we all know the ritual. Cat jumps onto a surface, makes eye contact, and slowly pushes an object over the edge. The standard explanation is cats are assholes or it's play/predatory instinct. But watch closely. The cat isn't just spatting something around. It watches the object fall. Its eyes track the descent. The head stays still. The whiskers are forward. It's not playing. It's measuring. A falling object from a known height gives you the local acceleration due to gravity. Cats are ambush predators whose entire hunting strategy relies on ballistic calculations. A miscalibrated leap means starvation. If a cat can independently verify G in its immediate environment, it gains a massive edge. The table knocking is a built-in gravimetric assay. Height of the table is roughly constant in a given home. The fall is a clean test mass, and the cat's inner ear and visual system are sensitive enough to detect timing anomalies. This isn't random mischief. It's a deeply conserved calibration protocol. Why would cats need to measure gravity? That question is where this gets weird. Evolution doesn't hardwire energy-wasting behaviors unless the selective pressure is relentless. If Earth's gravity were always a boring 9.8 everywhere, a constant internal model would suffice. There would be no reason for a cat to waste time and risk breaking objects just to check a number that never changes. The very existence of this behavior implies that, for a long evolutionary period, local G was not constant. It fluctuated, possibly by significant margins, and cats that checked survived, while cats that assumed die. Cats aren't even fully domesticated, they self-domesticated. Starting around 10,000 years ago, wild cats moved into early human agricultural settlements to hunt rodents. They chose to live near us. If the gravity-checking habit is that old, it means the instability was strongest exactly where early humans built their villages. Brain stores weren't the only draw. The cats were moving into zones of gravitational weirdness because they could exploit the niche. The instability itself here, we have to acknowledge a genuine gap in physics. We still don't have a working theory of quantum gravity. We don't know how gravity behaves at fundamental scales, how observation affects spacetime, or whether consciousness plays any role in collapsing gravitational potentials. It's uncharted territory. Dragons live there. The leeway is real. What if, under certain conditions, the local gravitational field could become decoupled from the planetary average? What if early human settlements, often built on sites already considered sacred or thin places by indigenous people, sat on regions where this decoupling naturally occurred, or was induced by something we no longer understand? Folklore across the world describes lights in the sky, small beings, time anomalies, and places where the rules don't work right. We dismiss it as myth, but if those stories are garbled records of local G anomalies, then cats reacting to them makes perfect sense. The lock in this is the most important part. If gravity used to be locally wild, why is it so creepily uniform now? Every textbook tells you 9.80665 m/s2. Satellites map the geoid to millimeter precision. It's a solid constant. I think we did that. Human consciousness has a strange relationship with measurement. The observer effect in quantum mechanics is poorly understood, but the idea that consensus observation stabilizes reality isn't fringe. It's debated in serious interpretations of quantum foundations. If consciousness influences gravitational coherence, then the global spread of science, mass education, and standardized physics textbooks acted as a planet-scale locking mechanism. Every child taught gravity is 9.8 anchored the field a little more. The anomalies got smoothed out, literally talked into submission by billions of minds agreeing on a number. This explains the timeline perfectly. Pre-modern gravity measurements were local, anecdotal, and contradictory. By the time we had precise global instruments in the 20th century, the lock had already held for decades. The stability we measure today is not evidence that it was always there. It's the scar of the lock-in. We can't see the fluctuations anymore because we unconsciously enforce the constant. If the consensus lock succeeded globally, there must have been places and populations where it failed. Enter the genuine historical mysteries that mainstream archaeology can't fully explain. Roanoke Colony. An entire settlement vanishes, leaving behind structures and the word Croatoan carved on a post. No bodies, no battle, no famine evidence, just daunt. The Denisovans, a whole hominid species known from a few bone fragments in a Siberian cave. They had advanced tools, interbred with us, then disappeared leaving almost no trace. The Greenland Norse thrived for centuries, then every single one of them vanished. No signs of massacre or sudden catastrophe. Göbekli Tepe, intricately built, then deliberately buried around 10,000 years ago, as if to seal something. In or out, the Sea People's collapse. Bronze Age civilizations wiped out in a generation, with no clear military explanation. The Nazca, a culture that produced the giant geoglyphs visible only from the air, then apparently declined and vanished under mysterious circumstances. They carved enormous lines into the desert floor as if signaling something. Above them, perhaps not gods, but the source of the gravitational anomalies themselves. When that source left, their local field destabilized, and the civilization collapsed. What if these weren't environmental or social collapses, but gravitational extinction events? A region where the local field destabilized catastrophically because the human consensus failed to crystallize there, or because whatever had been stabilizing it left. Populations would experience fatal physiological stress, animals would flee, and the settlement would be abandoned so completely that no continuous belief tradition survives. The cats, had they been there, would have warned them. Maybe some made it out. Why cats still check the lock is strong but not perfect. Cats carry the ancestral programming. They don't know about textbooks. Every day, in billions of homes, they perform the same experiment. Push object, watch fall, recalibrate. They're looking for a crack, a local fluctuation where the old wild gravity leaks through, a moment when the cup falls a fraction too fast or too slow, and maybe one day they'll find one and we'll wish we'd paid attention.